You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowed like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look up the better put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the third part of What If Naruto Enters Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro. Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of Nasha Rei-Kun on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Naruto walked down the hallway, covered in bandages, band-aids, and a neutral disposition. All around him shifted away nervously, looking scared as his coat shifted with each of his steps. Humph, he closed his eyes with a bit of a grunt, stuffing his hands into his pockets. Way to become the worst guy in school, Naruto groaned mentally as he continued on, not looking around the corner he'd turned. His eyebrows furrowed. One quick shift of movement had him still moving behind the stumbling girl who'd nearly ran into him, her eyes wide and trembling as she turned to look at his back along with her grimacing friends. "You gotta be careful, Yoshi," her taller friend said as their shortest member frowned. "That guy's nothing but bad news." Yoshi flinched at that as her other friend tapped her chin with a frown. "Such looks and he wastes them," she said with a look of disappointment. "Sakura, you can't be serious." "Gamma-chan, it's simple observations. He clearly has aptitudes that can be used for a better future. Hell, from the rumors, he might be able to knock out every one of your family's gym members." Gamma-chan frowned at that with a huff as the shortest girl of the four rolled her eyes. "That's just rumors, he's just a delinquent," she said. "Don't be like that, Hayachi." Yoshi tried to say something but it fell on deaf ears with little importance. He's not a delinquent not because he wanted to be, she knew. Of course, she did, she was the main reason he was in his current situation in the first place. And, just then, they heard something else from a passing student. "Oh, definitely, Uzumaki's totally the type of guy to bully that nerd," a random boy said as Hayachi's eyes narrowed. "That wimp from the art club," he told a friend beside him who shook his head. "Talk about picking on low fruit." Naruto sighed as he laid down on a bench on the roof, arms folded behind his head as he closed his eyes. Let me just get this over with, in a year and some change, he'd head to a trade school. He wasn't that kind of smart but Naruto kinda found working on machines and stuff pretty fun. The door to the roof was pushed open as a figure came running towards him before eating and sitting down in front of him. A trio of boys came in, took one look and froze. Stabbing blue eyes locked onto them and they trembled rushing over one another to get downstairs. There was silence as Naruto closed his eyes once more and sighed. "I'm not gonna tell you to fight them, now, but you have to not let it get that far," he told the glasses-wearing boy who'd sat in front of him. The tall boy grimaced, head down and hands clenched in his lap. "I can't, I'm not strong." "You have to be," Naruto said before sitting up in front of the Saiza-seated boy. "If you don't fall to their jeers, you'll be strong," he held out an open hand before clenching it into a fist. "Be stronger than that and this kind of thing won't happen again. I knew it." Came a shriek from the roof before the two boys turned their heads to see a charging Hayachi. "You piece of filth." The oncoming dropkick had Naruto's eyebrow twitching. He was up and already sliding past her, the girl's momentum arrested and turned into a spin that she landed from on stumbling feet. And Nagatoro now balked. "Are you done trying to attack people out of nowhere?" the blonde boy said as Hayachi stumbled a bit more before being settled by now. Excuse me? That's rich." The girl shouted at him, confusing the blonde she stomped up to before pointing at his face. "But I guess you're not smart enough to figure that out, delinquent." Naruto's hand rose behind him and caught Maki's punch, shocking the tall girl and Hayachi. "The hell? The two shouted as they scrambled back in disbelief. What kind of bullshit emperor eye is this? What? You now said with a look of concern. Why are you attacking him? And Nagatoro? What's going on? Sakura blinked, peeking in through the doorway. I'm uncertain of your question, senpai. What? Yoshi peeked out with a worried look, eyes locking onto Naruto's form currently being circled by her two friends. This is gonna end with a new rumor, just you wait, Hayachi said with narrowed eyes. Naruto's eyes narrowed as he stuffed his hands into his pockets and walked off. Not dealing with this today, he said as she and Gaimochan balked. Goodbye, crazy women in my life, Naruto declared without hesitation. Oh oi. Get back. Here. No. Ha. Gaimochan just stared as the older student left. Hey, leave them alone. She shouted, running after him as he stared at Yoshi. Naruto took one more step down the stairwell as he broke gaze with the slightly depressed girl before continuing down from the roof. Yoshi. Hayachi shouted as she growled, hackles raised, at Naruto's back. That bstrd dash. Stop calling him that, Yoshi said with her head down. Huh. Easy there, Yash, it's fine, we'll dash, Gaimochan began to say before being stopped by her friend's raised hands. Why is everyone treating him like this? She whispered before gritting her teeth and walking up to him now. Why you? He jumped before sitting up straight and bowing. I'm sorry. Naruto isn't bullying you, is he? She asked him as her friends looked at her, confused. Wait, what? Gaimochan looked confused. What are dash? Bullying? Now blinked at her and she sighed harshly. I am sorry, no, he's not. The tall boy trembled before looking away a bit. He's not. He stopped the bullying. The other three girls stared at him in confusion, none more so than Gaimochan and Hayachi. What are you talking about? We heard that he was bullying you. The shortest student said in disbelief. What? Why? A cold feeling began to settle into Gaimochan's gut at his words, the girl's shaky grin slowly breaking in horror. Hey, so, wait, he's not. Oh god, she realized what they'd just done as Hayachi flinched. We thought so. Wait, where the hell did that rumor start? Nowhere, Yoshi said, eyes unseen through her bangs as the others flinched. They came from nowhere, there was no reason for any of the rumors, they just hate him. She said with watery eyes as her friends flinched more. He's not a delinquent, the only reason he's even one is because of me. Her shouted echoed out on the rooftop, alarming the other four students. What? Now stared in disbelief as he scrambled to his feet. I don't understand, what are you talking about? Sakura frowned at all of this. Yoshi, you knew him before all of this, didn't you? She asked as her friend rubbed at her eyes, getting another wince out of Gaimochan and Hayachi. Yoshi sighed as her body slumped. Wait, what? Gaimochan looked nervous. Yoshi, come on, that's not actually true, is it? She asked, looking very guilty all of a sudden. I might have just attacked someone for no reason and called them a bstrd. The more she thought about it, her core turned cold and felt anxious. He was helping me, Yoshi whispered. I'd gotten in trouble with some actual delinquents and he saved my life. Hayachi flinched back while now frowned nervously. But why does everyone think he's a delinquent? He asked. Because one of those guys was a student from this school, Yoshi explained as she rubbed her eye again. I know he had something to do with this. The rooftop was silent again as now processed this information before turning to the other girls. Naruto-kun's helped me out more than most people have since I started going to Kaza High, he explained as Nagatoro looked down. He's probably the only reason I don't get bullied that often. The two aggressors wheezed at that. We look like some of the most shallow bees on this side of Tokyo, Gaimochan paled as Hayachi swallowed. Oh, God Yoshi, I didn't. I know, Yoshi said with a tired sigh. I know no one knows because Naruto never told anyone otherwise, he doesn't deserve this. Sakura tapped her chin in thought. So, what should we do? She asked the others. I mean, while not involved personally, we did just attack someone for being a good person, essentially. Geimo-chan and Hayachi winced again. The shortest student there rubbed the back of her head before bowing to Yoshi. We're sorry. Yoshi considered her for a moment before shaking her head. It's not me who might want an apology, Hayachi flinched before groaning. Question mark. The twin pig-tailed girl blinked as she saw something on the ground. She froze before hurrying off. Naruto Kun. Huh? Nagatoro and now jumped at her shout as Geimo-chan raised a brow before coming over and crouching down. She ran her finger through the odd spot and lifted it to her nose. Oh F, she shot to her feet. CRP, he's bleeding right now. Naruto huffed as he dropped the last third-year student who came after him, groaning as he held his side before walking off from behind the school. Don't pull that CRP again, ya BSTRDS, he told the groaning unconscious bodies with another groan of his own. To the nurses dash. Naruto-kun. A call from behind confused him. Huh? Yocha dash. You're coming with me, mister. The girl told him with a frown, grabbing his arm and minding his side. I'm taking you to the nurse's office. Huh? Naruto blinked at her for a moment, eyes blurring randomly. OOCRP, he stumbled before she steadied him, the shorter blonde holding onto him firmly as the others got there. Naruto's head dropped and he stopped moving. CRP. The blonde boy groaned as he slowly woke up, hand coming to his head before being held down by soft hands. Yo-chan. Hey, Yoshi said as the wet towel over his eyes came off once he sat up. Naruto-kun. Naruto hissed as he touched his bandaged torso. Well, I'm really not doing great at this separation thing, huh? You were keeping your distance even though we were supposed to go through high school together, Naruto winced at her hurt words. No, look, I get that but you'd be dragged down by my reputation. I'm well aware of how that can ruin your future and stuff if teachers think you're well, basically a delinquent. That's so. Came Geimo-chan's voice as she and the others peeked into the room before entering with a bunch of drinks and snacks in their arms. Sorry, she said with a wince at the blonde's torso, hiding her mortifying blush as best she could. He's hurt, you idiot. She shouted at herself. God, she was thirsty if she was checking out a guy she wrongfully tried to beat up. So, they know, Naruto said, rubbing the back of his head as now made it inside with a soft frown. Sup? Naruto-kun why? The glasses-wearing boy asked the blonde who sighed. There's not really a big story behind this. It's not some grand change-out, Naruto tried to say but a pinch to the back of his hand from Yoshi had him wincing. Okay, yeah, it was me being an idiot because I didn't want to drag anyone into my bad reputation. It's not good to be labeled a delinquent, much less an aggressive delinquent. I'm just lucky I'm on the handicraft club's good side. Wait, you are? Nagatoro said in shock before seeing Yoshi's look. She struggled for a moment. I am sorry, she got out with a pained expression as now shot her a raised brow. I'm also sorry if only because I should have said something earlier, he said as Naruto shook his head. While it wasn't exactly a great idea to attack anyone like that without any idea of what was happening, the two girls blushed and looked away from him. I can't blame them for trying to help someone even if it'd probably have been better to just, I don't know, call a teacher. Now is well liked by most of our teachers, they'd have done something. Why yeah, Maki blushed harder. We might have just jumped the shark on that one, and likely would have gotten into trouble. Maki realized they were really dumb for that move now. Alright, apologies accepted. Nagatoro's face screwed up into confusion as Yoshi smiled, petting her friend's hand. Huh? How the hell can you just accept that? She balked. I'd be pissed. Yeah, I'm a bit annoyed, but what else should I do if I know the reason? The short girl's eyebrow twitched as Now smiled. How are you, though? Your wounds were opening on the rooftop, he asked with concern as Naruto hummed. I moved too suddenly, that's probably why, Naruto admitted with a shrug as Nagatoro flinched. Probably didn't help with the fight from earlier, I was just asking for it at that point. You're gonna be getting a lot of rest, Naruto-kun, Yoshi said with a tone that brokered no argument. You're not healthy enough to go to class right now. No, you're not going. Gotcha, Naruto said quickly at her pout and glower. I promise, you know how I am with promises, he added with a grin as Yoshi's expression barely held itself together. It broke a second later, the girl sighing but smiling all the same. I do know. So, Geimo-chan began. Explain to me, how do you two know each other? Looking at one another, they nodded. We're childhood friends, they answered as she blinked in surprise. Seriously? So, tell me, my male blonde friend, Maki said as she looked through a catalog, looking between it and Naruto's hair time and time again. You got a preferred style? I like my spikes, Naruto chuckled as she smirked, amused. Other than that, I've never really thought about it, you know. He told her as he looked up at the large fringe hanging past his forehead. I do, it's your MO, bud. I guess I'll have to retain it somehow. Niji, meanwhile, was already mid-scrub with Sakura's fingers, the gyro having brought a movable desk with a bucket full of hot water and an opening so she could enclose her boyfriend. He Niji-kun, we should finally braid your hair. It's long enough, Sakura grinned as the former jounin considered the idea with closed eyes. Well, I suppose the worst that can happen is that we have to undo it, he considered. Well, that or your bellows idea dash. Oh my god, yes. What is it? Yoshi asked with a keen eye as Sakura grinned with a bit of pride and maniacal laughter. I've finally found a use for that dameable stories by game. Bello-sama's hair was the best, you don't understand, Yoshi. Yuuga. What was this? Her other friend played games, too. Bellows? Naoto blinked, surprised by that bit of knowledge. Well, when you think about it, anime and games have all kinds of hairstyles someone might want to try. Hinting at something. Nagatoro smirked as he grinned nervously, her clippers snipping at the air. Chill out, senpai, I'm just kinda joking. Was the kinda necessary? She just grinned and he looked worried. They went to work on their chosen customers, the midway point ending up with a four-girl observation. Naoto sighed in relief at his simple trim before Maki chuckled at something that filled him with dread. Oh no, what did she do? He asked in worry as Nagatoro smirked. Nothing, senpai, just sprucing you up, she snickered as he paled before feeling her hands on his head. Look at you, almost looking normal. What does that mean? It means, my masterpiece is mid-progress. Naruto, meanwhile, raised a brow at the amount of his hair he was noticing. She flattened it. He asked Sakura, who looked at him before noting Maki's cupped chin. I'm working to try and appease you and the world, Naru, it's a challenge to keep in spikes but DMN it I will. The bright-haired girl declared as he chuckled. Well, I know this might be me being a bit selfish and stuff. Hey, don't ignore what you like. Sure, sometimes it's a bit much but that doesn't mean you don't get a chance to enjoy it, too, Whiskers. Naruto hummed as Niji smiled. She's got a point, he said as Yoshi kept blowing on his currently long glossy locks with a hair dryer. Despite how it seems, Sakura is very aware of my preferences. I've never known you liked your hair a certain way, Niji. You just seem to like long hair in general. How to put this, Niji crossed his legs with a curious tilt as Sakura snickered, Naoto looking intrigued. I prefer my hair at its maximum length for lack of a better word. You might say I like it long but, really, I don't worry about the style as long as I have all of my hair. That's the way darling does it, Sakura grinned. Now, focus, girls. We gotta give a dramatic finish. The next 30 minutes finally came and went, leaving the quartet of girls to stare in disbelief. Niji rubbed the back of his noggin gently, minding his new windswept-style hair. The small white ribbon on the back much to his amusement, gaining a chuckle out of the oldest in the room. Sakura swooned. Naruto, meanwhile, felt his new shorter locks and chuckled sheepishly, the flatter curve still not denying his spikes as a large tuft was slicked back against his noggin. Hee, I guess getting a new style won't kill me, he said, embarrassed. Maki roared in her heart. Oh my god, he's cutie. Finally, Naruto blinked at his own shorter hairstyle that parted a bit at the left side of his forehead, the boy's contacts allowing the full majesty of his new neatly combed cheek-length style to shine through with his embarrassment. I guess this is alright, he muttered, red-faced and vulnerable-looking. Hayachi's primal instincts activated. The urge is too much. She shouted with an embarrassed need to tease and taunt him. Yoshi was just red at them all, noting that all the boys were somehow attractive and blowing her own mind. It's an interesting look for you, Naruto-kun, Niji complimented as he and the other males stretched as they stood up. Ah, it's nice to be able to move after so long. And, Naruto, I can say that your new style honestly feels very you. The blonde flicked his bangs with a smile. Maki does good work but, man, we do not compare to Mr. Swept over here, he sweat dropped as Naruto chuckled. It's a good look, senpai, you've honestly got a lot going for you with that hairstyle, the contact wearer admitted as he messed with a fringe. I am not so sure about me, though. I feel so exposed, Naruto admitted. It's a good look, his fellow hair-changed companions complimented him with a pair of nods. Thanks. What did you let her do to you? Minato asked his son with a nervous smile as Kushina took picture after picture. Especially when you know how your mother gets, he didn't add. He knew a dead man when he saw one. Naruto just kept blushing as he rubbed the back of his head. It was something all us guys were doing, come on, he said bashfully as his mother's eyes shined. CRP. You're saying that you three boys just let them have their way with your hair? She asked vaguely. That's not how it went, he muttered. Maki just burned up on her sheets as she tried to ignore what she'd done to that boy today. I turned him into a chick magnet. That has to be it. She wouldn't take a no for an answer. Oh, no, and she'd been ogling Naruto for nearly the whole way home. She's not even sure when he'd left before she went inside. And he's gonna be coming over next week, she stuffed her face into her pillow. CRP, right, pudding. Pudding, training, and a new hairdo. Oh, how she'd set herself up for embarrassment, huh? Nagatoro's aura raged as she sat at her desk, eyes narrowed in determination as she wrote things down in her notebook. I see, she uttered ominously as she began drawing those two figures before looking at her manga. I am the star athlete, you can't do this to me. A pretty boy character declared before gasping at the aggressive female's up-close grin and bodily presses. You're still just a nerd. Tatsubio-kun. Blowing in his ear and bringing the changed boy to the ground before straddling him. No, you think you can change looks in schools and get away from me? Watching the boy squirm and fold to the girls while over an enormous amount of pages set the raven-haired girl's heart ablaze. Tomorrow. The following morning, Naruto left his home with an embarrassing joke from his mother chasing him out. DMN it, Mom. He yelped as he ran ahead, feeling Maki's signature in front of him. DMN it, the blonde just thought it was a good hairdo. Reaching the home intersection, the blonde's run came to a crawl as he noted Maki and Hayachi there, his eyes going to his left to see a Naruto arriving as well. Sup, he greeted them all, never noticing the girls' shady looks as they arrived. So, the hair kept up through a night of sleep, Naruto joked a bit as Naruto nodded, glasses nowhere to be seen. Same, honestly, it's a lot cooler by my ears, Naoto smiled. A bit. It's convenient. Nagatoro's gaze locked in on Naoto with a stare more meant for the greatest puzzles in the world. As Naruto came over with a grin, Maki took a deep breath. Alright, morning, she said with a focused stare that confused the blonde alongside the black rings around her eyes. He tilted his head with those expressive eyes of his and her soul trembled. No, focus. You got this. She could outlast the blonde's pretty boy novelty and return to normalcy. Huh, you seem real focused today, Maki-chan, and tired. Of course, Whiskers, I spent a whole night crying my eyes out over edge runners. She'd never be caught unawares, metaphorically, or emotionally, again. Yeah, it's nothing crazy, I'm just going at this with an empty tank. Naruto blinked, confused. What? You're thinking too much, come on, let's go. Beginning their walk to school, Naoto was immediately weirded out about Nagatoro's lack of words or reactions. Did something happen? Maybe she'd had a bad day. Nagatoro? Naoto called, surprising her out of her steaming focus. Huh? The short girl jumped, looking alarmed. What is it, Worm-senpai? I'm not, he wondered if he should even bother. Look, are you in a funk or something? You seem quiet. The girl blushed a bit, looking more surprised, much to his confusion. Question mark. It's nothing. She yelped, looking red in the face. It. I let him get to me. This snide senpai of hers must have been feeling himself too much. Humph, you got some ball now, don't ya? What? Trying all that bullshit, you're in for it when we get to school. Why? He was just concerned, it. What did I even do this time? Naoto muttered with a pout, running a hand through his hair in confusion. She blushed again. That Mege no you. Trying to brush her off like that. So cool. She wouldn't accept it. Naruto chuckled, looking at Maki with a grin before noting her focus once more. Man, do we have a test? Is that it, Maki-chan? He leaned down and whispered to her, worried. Maki, meanwhile, misconstrued the hell out of it. What the hell is he whispering into my ear for? She was engulfed in the flames of embarrassment. Why you idiot, personal space. She hissed pleadingly at him, startling the blonde. Oh, sorry. Naruto apologized, chuckling sheepishly. Didn't want to bother ya, like that. And now, hold on. I am just thinking about an assignment. Yeah. Really? Well, I'm sadly no good at that stuff, but if I can help, I'm your man. Maki's face froze as she hit nuclear levels. I'm your man. It. What? The four made it to school with drained expressions. God, that walk was weird, they thought. Why was she so antsy? Naruto and Naoto thought. Him and his new CC hair. Nagatoro and Maki grumbled. There you guys are, Sakura said with a ferocious grin as Niji raised a brow at the group's collective exasperation in his car. Something must have happened. The girls blushed while the boys looked confused. Going through school like usual, lunchtime came and the four weren't feeling any better about that morning. Naruto was just confused. Naoto was muttering. Nagatoro grumbled. And Maki was pouting off to the side. Sakura and Yoshi raised some eyebrows at the four. Something about this is too odd, Sakura whispered to the pigtailed girl, Yoshi nodding rapidly with a weird look. Yoshi, you don't think that, maybe something did happen on their walk to school, do you? She asked, utterly floored by this situation. What the hell was going on with the group? Yoshi hadn't even touched her food, she was so concerned, the blonde gal looking around at the group. Hey, Naruto-kun. She called out, getting a raised brow at her fellow blonde. Did something happen? Yoshi asked. Huh? Well, I'm not really sure. He said unsurely as Maki sunk into her seat. I just know that it's been weird since the walk from school. So, guys? What's up? Naruto asked the others as Yoshi sighed in relief. I am not sure, Naruto said as Sakura cupped her chin with narrow eyes. That likely means the girls did something, usually, with the two being completely confused instead of worried, that meant those two had gotten something weird in their heads. Girls, what is it that you're doing to your senpai? We didn't. I'm just extra focused cause of an assignment, Maki lied as Sakura squinted at her in disbelief. My god, I'm really going to have to play in my own games. Well, she would have had to, eventually. Hayachi. Humph, the shortest there grumbled some more. My word, these two were hopeless. Look, how about, after school today, Sakura began. We girls give them a surprise. She grinned harmlessly, confusing the female duo. Surprise? Both boys asked, confused. Yes, call it a sorry for the vibes present. I'm not sure if that's necessary, Naruto said while scratching his cheek, Naruto nodding. It's not like something happened, I figured today might have just been a weird one for them. Same, we're not mad, just confused, the blonde boy said, leaning back in his seat until he was at an easily sustained surprising angle. Like, what did we even say? Thanks. They've got nothing to apologize for, much less make up for. The two girls blushed before grumbling as they shot Sakura flat looks. The demure one grinned. I feel like something weird's gonna happen, Naruto said as he and Naoto sat on the couch in the art club, working on some easels with charcoal. What do you think, now? And maybe it's like manga? It might be, Naoto looked around before whispering weakly. Tea that time of the month? The blonde went still with a pale expression, his friend nodding rapidly. I hope it's not as bad like it is with my mom, dude, she terrorizes us for an entire day. I hope so. Naoto swallowed, adjusting his not there glasses. We can only hope for a miracle. Yep. The doors to the room opened and allowed in two blushing, towel-cloaked, girls as Sakura snickered from behind them. Yoshi just looked embarrassed and appalled. Oh no. The boys looked confused even as their senses told them to leave immediately. Maki burned like a dying star, which felt apt. She felt like dying right now. Nagatoro, meanwhile, grinned through her embarrassment before throwing off her towel with a smug aura, startling Naoto into a blushing stupor as she revealed her blue swimsuit. Ha! She grinned slyly at him, arms crossed, as she paraded herself around like the most magnificent peacock. Getting excited, senpai? I am not. Naoto blushed as he shakily turned away from her only to find a lean stomach in front back. Naruto blushed and then paled as his head mechanically turned from those two to the burning up Maki. It's nothing like that. The girl shrieked with red skin as Sakura snickered. Sadly, Maki-chan wouldn't be so easily convinced, but we found a middle ground, Sakura grinned as her friend blushed. It's not supposed to be embarrassing, you idiot. Now it is. The carrot top shouted at the cackling Sakura. DMN it, Maki muttered before dropping her own towel to reveal combat attire. Naruto was somehow relieved and embarrassed. It's normal boxing clothes, you pervert. He said to himself, but his eyes couldn't stop looking her up and down. His blatant gaze got a shy Maki for his troubles, and that made it worse. Wearing a black sports BR, similar colored spats, MMA gloves, and a normal pair of white sneakers, the situation was made something perverted with Sakura's implications and Maki's own red face. Naruto looked away with wide eyes. Oh no. He had a FTSH. This is the surprise? He asked, trying to focus only on Sakura's amused expression. Woman, are you trying to kill us? Maki folded her hands by her exposed stomach and grumbled as Sakura waved him off. It's inspiration, Whiskers senpai, you're supposed to be mentally stimulated by this. She grinned. Stimulated? He was, DMN. That was the problem. I'm sorry she put you up to this, Naruto apologized to Maki immediately as Yoshi blushed but giggled. I don't think we could have saw this coming. Maki ran a hand through her long hair, his eyes snapping to the act without trying. Sakura caught it like it was a golden ticket. Long hair's his deal, she realized. It's freaking stupid, dude, but it does kinda work as a, sorry, gift for this morning, the Carrot Top admitted with crossed arms, a fact that sent a twitch into the blonde's brow as he blushed some more. I shouldn't have been cold-shouldering you like I did. Naruto was snapped out of his trance by her words, clearing his throat and rubbing the back of his head. Hey, you wanted some space, it's on me. Still, well be better make the most of this outfit, huh? She said quickly, embarrassed and lost. DMNU, Sakura. The blonde grumbled with red cheeks at the implication of what such words could mean but moved past it as best he could, grumbling as he picked up his charcoal. I'm sorry regardless, he said before Maki cupped her chin. Should I be posing? Naruto stopped, considering the idea. Well, I mean, you'd have to not get tired, you know. Those clothes are meant for a lot of moving, he rubbed the back of his head before freezing. God damn it, he cursed as he pulled his blackened fingers out of his hair, Maki letting out a snort at his look of disbelief. I'm so sorry, Maki-chan. She snickered at him. Idiot, it's fine. You'd have to wash your hair eventually, anyway, Maki smirked. For later, duh, it's Friday, after all. I guess. Alright, you wanna do a stand-up pose or? Getting into a simple boxing stance, Naruto nodded before beginning to draw as fast as he could. Each time she saw his eyes snap to her, Maki grinned despite her embarrassment, his trailing gaze, though professional, sending a happy warmth into her heart. You've got a thicker waist than I expected, no offense, Naruto said with a nod to her snickers. Well, duh, I work out a lot, I ain't no daisy, Maki told him with a grin. Yeah, you do and it shows, he praised without thinking, causing her grin to widen. But you're still so I don't know the word, I think it's slim but for fighting terms, Naruto squinted as she both blushed and laughed. Ha, you mean lithe? That one. Naruto, meanwhile, finally got enough of his composure back to do his own painting of a daintily sitting Hayachi. She's always so, his fingers moved without a thought, eyes snapping back to the grinning shorty before focusing back on his work with a brighter eye. So active, he made a small but still big slide. Nagatoro blushed a bit as his eyes went down to her thighs with a blush but no less intensity, the girl quickly wearing a weak nonchalant expression as she looked off to the side. Her face was burning. By the end of the 30-minute mark, the boys told them to relax before getting up and showing off their work. There, Naoto said as the others looked at his. It's a bit rough but I haven't done charcoal in a bit. Seeing the still rather amazing art, his model blushed up a storm before nudging him in the side. I saw you focusing on my thighs, you perv. It was for art. Seeing the two fall into that routine once more, Sakura chuckled before eyeing up Naruto's work with a curious Maki and humming Yoshi. They found a curious sight as the blonde added one more intensity line, shocking her. Dude, ya manga-ed me. Maki said in shock but so much excitement. That's so sick. Seeing a familiar vague figure with a focused expression, the blonde had gone above and beyond to add manga-like additions like patter and step sound effects along with an intensity focus on her fists. Naruto grinned. I'm no good at just drawing one thing, remember? So, I went back to Ippo and just went wild with it. Have you seen the Ricardo and Wally fight? That's so DMN good. Maki's eyes shined at the idea of being anywhere cool enough for that. DDMNU, you appealing blonde BSTRD, I love it. Shifo cried tears of joy and pride. Naoto and Nagatoro peeked in and gawked. No way. That's not fair. She shrieked with envy. And maybe you'll make your own manga one day, he said, awed and inspired. He, Naruto snickered. I'm more of a writer than a panelist. If you're down, we can just have some fun with that. Seriously? Heh, Maki smirked as Hayachi's brow twitched. Your artist has style but mine has ippo. Ugh. Nagatoro's hackles raised as Sakura smirked. Hee. Finish up, boys. I'm feeling great. Looking at their finished work, Naruto chuckled at Maki's refreshed look while Naoto smiled encouragingly at Nagatoro. Freaking, grumbling in her towel, Hayachi huffed as she drank some juice. Why yeah, I guess I got beat good this time, Naoto said sheepishly as she shot him a look. Baka-senpai, worrying about stupid stuff. Yeah. Sakura smiled serenely as she hit her phone while Naruto looked at his hands before getting up. I gotta go and get this clean, he said with a sigh as he looked outside. But I don't have any other clothes. At least, outside, it's nice and sunny, Naruto chuckled as he opened up the blinds. Staring outside at the dark clouds and the sound of distant rumbling thunder, the blonde's eyebrow twitched as the others gawked. That's just not fair, he whined softly. Come on, the least you can do is not have dirty hands, Maki told him with a grin as Naruto groaned but walked to the faucets regardless. Good boy. Bite me. Invitation. Naruto froze at the feeling of mischief coming from behind him. And nope. He said quickly as she snickered, stalking up on him as Nagatoro finished her drink she'd thought. Releasing her breath with a satisfied grin, she'd squashed it for the small joy of it. And found juice splishing out onto her hands, the choke-like grip, and her expression of frozen joy, getting a bit of a chuckle out of Naoto as he walked to the fountain. Ack. She jumped at her mistake. It. Ugh, it's all over my hands, Nagatoro grumbled as she got up before her eyes locked onto Naoto's back. Her mind cracked an amazing idea. The artist had been fine with his small victory, chuckling as he really scrubbed at his hands. It's always so difficult to get out of my nails, he considered as his nails dragged against his palms. Well, at least it's not oil painting level EP. Naoto jumped at a hip bump, eyes snapping to the side to see a grinning Nagatoro washing her own hands near his. He, what are you muttering about, Gro-senpai? Nagatoro asked slyly, pushing against his shoulder with her own as Naoto blushed and looking away. Nah. Wash those hands. He flinched as he tried to pull his hands away only for it to drip onto his pants, his brow twitching as he huffed and washed his hands without looking at her. And not today, Demonis. D-demon. Why how'd you know? He paled at her leer, BLD going hot up his neck as she hissed against it. Thinkin' about that movie, right? She whispered into his chest. I mean. I'm almost dressed like her, Nagatoro kept growing more excited by the second, face bright red as Naoto's heart kept thumping. More. She needed this. Peering at the duo currently stuck in their own little world of teasing, squirming, and the occasion comeback, Naruto and Maki blushed a bit at the sheer intensity Hayachi was working in. GG's, are we sure she's not aware? Naruto asked her in disbelief. Maki-chan, that looks downright ridiculous. Why yep, that their tea that's basically a trope brought to life and then milked into the ground, the bright-haired girl said as Naruto focused on his hands before blinking in confusion. I forgot how hard this stuff is to get off. Maki pressed her shoulder to his as she saw the blonde's rubbing fingers and dirty water. DMN, dude, did you molest that charcoal? He rolled his eyes as he kept scrubbing. Not dealing with that, Naruto said as she grinned knowingly at him. Nah, not from you. The point is, I don't want to dirty up the soap bottle but I kinda need it. Easy, there you go, Maki said as she grabbed said bottle and squeezed it over his hands, getting a nodding blonde for her troubles. Hee. Alright, thanks, gal pal, Naruto grinned as he scrubbed like no tomorrow as Maki snickered. Come on, thank me more. Oh, gracious Gama-chan, truly you are Earth's divine gift. Ha! She grinned. You see? You recognize W8, you son of a b. Maki gasped at Naruto's mischievous grin. What's up, Gama-chan? Gamu, you sea urchin. They bickered back and forth, eyes bright and grins coming out full force. Niji opened the door to the room before noticing the two pairs, Yoshi's amazed embarrassed, and the rapid picturing demon that had become his girlfriend. Oh, nothing's changed, he said to himself. Naoto dried his hair with a huff as he blushed in a slightly baggy white shirt and black shorts. Thanks, Niji-senpai, he said as he left the bathroom with a grateful expression. No issue, Niji nodded as he, Naruto, and the girls also sat in a large tatami mat room. Wearing a light blue yukata and pants, his hair remained in that windswept style but a little more flat now. Naruto's own seemed to defy physics as Maki kept gawking at his still spiky new hairstyle. Wearing a green shirt and brown shorts, the blonde snickered. What are you? Jesus? She begged in a red tank top and her school skirt. Give it to me. I want hair like that, DMN it. How dare this boy get such wicked hair genes like his mom? She was dying of effort and he was living luxury. Let's turn him into a product line. Yoshi said with a big grin, wearing a pink shirt with her skirt. Sakura-chan, you can do that, can't you? Sakura smirked as Niji chuckled, still dressed in her school uniform. Yoshi, you're really a genius sometimes. I could turn that rough-seeming boy into a bad boy in a matter of hours. Excuse me? Naruto asked in horror as Nagatoro snickered at his misfortune, just wearing her swimsuit beneath her open dress shirt and black skirt. Why you know? Maki blushed before clearing her throat. That might be an interesting idea, she said, not looking at the pale Naruto beside her. Like with a spiked collar and stuff. Honestly? It was pretty hot. Please, stop, he begged as the others chuckled or laughed. Instead of looking at me like I deserve it, how about making fun of me while I SK at video games? Naruto diverted as his eyes went to the witch in front of a decently large TV with 4 controllers. Ah, I've gotten better at them, with time, Niji smiled as Naruto perked up. What kinds do you have, senpai? He asked as Niji pulled out a small zipped-up CD holder before opening it to show about 5 games. Wow, I didn't think you'd have that many, Naruto honestly expected Niji to have, at best, 2, mostly 1. Oh, well, most of these are Sakura's. 3 of them are just anime-like games she loved the designs of. Oh, look at that, he was 1 for 1. Let's show them the majesty of the stories by series. Bello-sama comes in way later but he's the best part. Sakura squealed as Niji chuckled before turning on the witch. And it has 4-player. Who's up for some of this greatness an hour in? Naoto perked up before smiling while Yoshi's eyes snapped to it. Sure, the two said in unison as Sakura grinned while Niji hummed with a nod. Huh. Maki whispered to Naruto as the blonde shrugged. Maybe she likes video games, he told her as his fellow bright-haired teen hummed. Really? She never brought it up. You guys don't really play games like that, do you? Outside of phone ones? Not really. Hell, I'm more shocked to know Sakura is an avid gamer. Naruto snickered as she grinned in interest. Nagatoro, meanwhile, felt her eyebrow twitch at the pigtailed blonde embarrassedly, but excitedly, asking Naruto about some of the game's lore or mechanics. And the nerdy boy looked happy to indulge her, telling her many things that had the vacant-eyed girl looking startled or more excited. Her body trembled in displeasure. Oh, right, Niji said as they saw a banner at the top of the witch's console screen. Valentine's Day event. All multiplayer games are off by 50%. What to do, he wondered cluelessly as Sakura began to giggle ominously. At the sudden shift in the room that came with his, and the game's, words. Naruto felt kind of nervous all of a sudden. Maki burned a bit as she fidgeted. Yoshi choked. Naruto froze in some kind of hidden horror he didn't understand. And Nagatoro schemed. It was going to be an eventful Valentine's Day. After getting the okay from the nurse, Naruto had been given a bill of slightly clean health before being let go. Wearing a 3-button white polo shirt that allowed his wounds to breathe with the buttons undone, he rubbed the back of his head as Yoshi smiled. Wait, so, how long? Yash. Maki asked, utterly baffled. How has this never come up? I told you I had a childhood friend before. Naruto's family moved recently and we didn't know where each other were, Yoshi admitted as she pinched the hem of the blonde's top. And how did you get away with this? She asked him, tugging on the polo. You ever realize people really don't think too hard if they see the top 3 buttons? Naruto chuckled sheepishly as Nao blinked in surprise while Sakura grew intrigued. Exactly, I don't like wearing dress shirts, it's so weird. But a polo is better? Maki asked. Yep. They're nice and soft while being a bit heavier. What does that even imply? Sakura asked with an observant eye. I can make him into something. She felt her inspiration brimming. It's look, the point is, I like knowing my clothes exist compared to dress shirts. Those light things. Yoshi tilted her head as Nagatoro crossed her arms before prodding Nao in the side. He jumped and she grinned excitedly, the two emanating a curious energy that Naruto observed before going squinty-eyed. He began as Maki grinned, Sakura smirked, and Yoshi gasped. There. Not, right? Naruto whispered to his childhood friend, Yoshi snickering as Maki started to laugh. Like, dude, come on, he spoke up, startling the duo. She's, like, 4 feet 2 inches, it's not that hard. Maki guffawed so hard she almost hit her knees. Sakura's mouth released an unladylike snort off to the side. Yoshi trembled as she stuffed her face into his arm, the vibrations of her laughter hard to miss. Nao looked embarrassed and yet amused beyond words. And Nagatoro, well. I'm 5 feet tall, you blonde bstrd. The shortest of the 6 growled as her hackles raised. Naruto blinked at that before he squinted once more and held his hand to his crown. Maki started dying. And slowly brought it down to his neck before going lower. Keep that hand where it is, you son of a b. Eating in the cafeteria had never been so horrifying as the group watched in horrified awe as the blonde ate his 10th bowl of that stupid freaking ramen. Ah, Naruto sighed in relief as he wiped his mouth with a small napkin, burping into its depths. Ramen will never get old, he grinned. Where? Maki stood up in envious disbelief. YUMSTR Gene BSTRD, where is it? You have to be hiding it. Do you know what I have to do for this body? Yoshi grinned from beside him, finishing her 10th bowl with a happy expression. The double whammy sent Maki's soul into a cold pit. Nao blinked at them, confused, as he ate without issue. He's always been a big ramen eater, he told them, Nagatoro's still steaming form not relenting even now. He carries big boxes of it to school sometimes and we eat on the roof. Wait, actually, now that one rumor has been cleared up, Sakura perked up, turning her gaze away from Naruto's damning stomach. I'm now curious. How many of the rumors surrounding Naruto-san are true? She asked, gaining the table's attention. None of them. Naruto told her. Like, seriously, most of those came up from people just hating me and my rep, he explained as Yoshi nodded with a pout, holding onto his arm with a mean stare. He chuckled at it and just grinned in amusement. Yeah, it's basically just bad rep equaling crazier rumors. So, the one about you beating 100 men? Oh, well, that one's true. How? Maki asked. And are you looking to join a boxing gym? She added an instant later, leaning in with interest. Nao tilted his head. And Naruto-kun is actually a well-established martial artist, he explained, confusing the others. He's already got a pair of black belts to the third dan. And no way. She gawked in disbelief. Dude, you have to be joking. How do you even reach that at your age? You're 1 year older than me. Actually, how old are you, Naruto-san? Sakura asked. 18, he admitted, surprising the girls sans Yoshi. Well, I kinda entered school late due to moving from Italy to here, Naruto said nonchalantly as he leaned back in his seat. And then my papers took a while, so I entered elementary school at 7 instead of 5. I Italian? The demure girl looked taken aback. And you dare not use your looks for the betterment of mankind? She looked horrified. Now chuckled a bit as Nagatoro's eyes grew all big and telling. I'm turning 17 in May, he admitted as she perked up. Why, you're almost 2 years older than me. She choked as he raised a brow. That is dash. She's 15, Senpai-kun, Sakura smiled knowingly as Nagatoro blushed while now sweat dropped. Senpai-kun. Is that even possible? He uttered as she grinned. My name is Naoto Hachiyuji, Naoto revealed. E8 princes? Yoshi looked alarmed and awed. What lineage? She asked as Naruto snickered. Chill there, Yo-chan, that joke's long gone, he grinned. And no. Naoto smiled shakily. They bantered until lunch was over. Come the end of school, the Jiraiya gang were surprised by the large amount of murmuring they'd heard on the way to the entrance. What? Maki wondered with a frown, the four of them continuing on with their bags in their hands. The hell's everyone mumbling about? She muttered as Yoshi frowned and took the lead, causing her friends to hurry to catch up. Hey, Yash. I don't like this, she admitted as they ran toward squawking. Yoshi growled as Nagatoro raised a brow. Making it to the doors, the sounds became clearer. And you longing to turn our sanctum into a realm of debauchery. Woman, what the hell are you even talking about? Breaking through the doors, they found not only Naoto and Naruto but an above-average in height, buxom, young woman who crossed her arms and looked down at the blonde. Who was currently trying, and failing, his best to not look down as this new character decided to push her chest against his, the slightly shorter teen looking utterly miserable and confused. Yoshi's eyes spoke of murder as she stomped on over. Excuse me, what is your problem? She growled, Naruto stepping back in slight relief as Yoshi and the newcomer locked eyes. Lightning flew as Naruto swallowed before coming forward. Keikaishu, please, you're misunderstanding dash. I'm not mishearing whispers, am I? The long-haired student frowned deeply as Yoshi crossed her own arms with a defiant stare. That the delinquent, she gestured to the sighing Naruto. Is bullying you? No, please, it's not that dash. President, huh? Sounds like you're not exactly around to make a decision, Yoshi spat as the art club president's eyes narrowed. What? Hit a nerve. Whoa there, easy, Yash, Maki said as she came between the two. Easy with those weapons. Can we all talk about what's going on? We might have some insight into that rumor you most likely heard, she admitted as the womanly figured student huffed and, they bounced. What is she eating? Nothing but milk desserts. Maki wasn't so bad in the womanly categories if she could be so bold. But this woman beat her out of the water. Sitting in the clubroom once more, seated on the couch alongside Yoshi, Naoto, and Naruto, the president raised a brow, utterly dismissed of her anger. Wait, you say he's not bullying Naoto-kun and actually helps the art club? The president looked alarmed, surprised, and surprisingly intrigued as she turned her head to observe Naruto past the growling Yoshi and weakly smiling Naoto. I see. Naruto groaned. Look, can we just let bygones be bygones? You know I'm not bullying now, I'm even helping every now and then when no one can know, he repeated for the sake of this conflict being over. So, can we just drop it? The womanly teen let out a focused breath. I suppose I may have misjudged you, she said as Naruto grinned. Hey, you're looking out for now, I can't tell you weren't thinking with your heart. Question mark. She looked a bit more intrigued as Yoshi paled at the way the older female's eyes trailed over Naruto's body. I see, you've taken good care of my underclassman, Uzumaki-kun, she added with a sagely nod as Naruto hummed. Sakura looked ready to explode while Maki blushed up and stormed, Nagatoro choking on her breath with a red face as well as they all watched this woman's intent become clear. Uzumaki-kun, she got up before walking in front of him and looking down at the seated blonde. Will you? Sakura, Maki, and Nagatoro leaned in. Be my dash. Stop. Yoshi shouted before shooting behind the couch to stand behind her childhood friend. Why you can't? She burned as the words left her mouth. Why you can't just take someone's boyfriend and act like I'll just stand on by? Naruto's jaw dropped along with Naoto's own as Sakura looked ready to combust while Maki blushed in shock. There's no way she made a move like that. It, she was so proud but couldn't be not gobsmacked. Nagatoro's eyes bugged out as she looked at the burning up Yoshi, and now Naruto, while the president frowned in confusion. She tapped her chin before nodding. Then, please, let me use your boyfriend's body. The whole room spit-ached in red-faced horror. Yuga. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for more crossovers. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author Nasha Rei-Kun on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video, till then goodbye.